Hello, hello. How's it going, Miss Kimmy Seltzer? How you doing?
I'm good under the circumstances, right? Like it's a loaded question these days, I think. How
Yeah,
you doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
How you doing?
How you
Yeah,
doing?
I
Well, I'm doing good now that I'm talking to you. I was looking forward to this.
yes, same here. And for those of you guys and gals that are watching this live, either it's here on Zoom or on the Facebook Live or catching the replays on the variety of platforms out there, you're in treat. You're in for a real treat right now with our next guest here. She is, I would say, not just a great podcaster marketer, but she really helps people identify their personal brand image. She's a visibility expert, as we like to say, because she really helps people that take maybe what we're thinking and like shakes it up a little bit. Like, no, you are not presenting the proper package to the world out there. So we've had her on the podcast, the Nut Close Show, before. I've been a guest on her podcast, The Charisma Quotient. Honored to have my friend Kimmy Seltzer here join us today on National Social Media Day. I'm a little brain dead. I got about an hour and a half left for the final thing here.
You are a rock star. Oh my God. I don't know how you've been doing this. You've been amazing.
Yeah, about 4 cups of coffee would be the answer to that, and a little bit of Topo Chico.
Is it the kind of coffee that I like?
No. All out of whipped cream here at the house. Therefore, we got regular creamer this time around. So that's a story for another day. But
right.
You are one of the things when we were talking about social media day, I was like, oh, we got to get you on here to kind of talk about maybe some of the faux pas that we make personally, because you do such a great job. Really, and this is the thing. Back to the basics of kind of being socially active or socially branding yourself as you're out networking, dating. I mean, you're a dating coach. You've been on so many shows and a life coach and a therapist as well. So you do a lot with a mind aspect of when it comes to it. So what are you seeing out there? You know, I know that people have been stuck from home, but we're doing a lot of stuff online.
I know.
People are looking forward to getting back out, maybe not jumping on Tinder, or maybe they are, and Match.com,
yes,
who knows
they
what.
Are. Oh, yes, they are. Well, actually, and that's a good segue, because I think what I'm seeing in social media, I'm also seeing in the dating world with the apps and whatnot. And I just think we are entering a new way of connecting with people overall. And I have to say, I've had a tumultuous relationship with social media. I will just come out and say it. It's been, it's like at first I started dating the social media and I kind of liked it. And then the algorithms changed. And then I felt like it was breaking up with me. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And so I think there has been a lot of changes with it, but I'm seeing it going in a really nice direction and in ways that I'm seeing it actually benefit people in the dating world as well. So it's an interesting metaphor of what we're talking about. And it all has to do with authenticity and building a community. And this is where I have seen a lot of, just the marketing and the business growing. And I feel like just marketing overall is heading towards the authenticity, right? I mean, even in this world that we're living in, look at what's on TV now. Like we're seeing celebrities in their pajamas with no makeup on. We're seeing, what I think everyone's becoming more like on that even plane, and we're becoming more relatable to each other, which is not a bad thing. And so I'm seeing just ways of connecting with people on social media just in really beautiful ways. And one of the things that I've been noticing, and this was going to be just kind of my tip, and we can go into this, is more about that community piece. And as you know, you mentioned my podcast, I'm seeing how it can feed each other, right? And so that people are joining my Facebook group, and I'm enjoying more the smaller version of Facebook and really building that community. And then I'm also having people in the community go on my podcast. And from there, I'm generating business, because it's becoming kind of this I'd say cycle that's feeding each other. And that's been wonderful, because it's really been an authentic way of building that relationship.
Well, and that's a beautiful thing. If it's your audience is coming together, your groups, your coaching, and then bringing people along who have done a great job or taking your counsel and really seeing an impact in their actions and other things, that leads to, testimonials. It leads to people that, I want to work with you, because see the instant impact. And That's a great chain of events. That's a great momentum. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think that's the flywheel aspect of things. You build momentum and things get really, really cooking.
Exactly. It's and it's just like dating, right? Like you kind of see each other, you kind of dabble into somebody's world, you get to know each other better, and then you're in. You're like, I like this, you know. And so whether that's somebody hiring you or you're finding your tribe or your community of people in a Facebook group, that has been just amazing. And I think another benefit, and this goes into the image stuff, as you mentioned, I work from the outside and in. I think people are learning to connect with people in ways about just like paying more attention to first impressions and image. And that is huge. You know, I don't think people were really paying attention to that because, you know, first impressions and the way you market yourself is so big in terms of like if somebody's going to hire you, if somebody's going to trust you, and how you even communicate with them. And if your image is inconsistent with your brand or what you're trying to convey to your customers, it's going to be a rub there. And so this is a beautiful time to really work on some of this stuff, even in the comfort of your own home. I mean, I do virtual makeovers. I'm just going to say, so if anyone wants to like work on the waist up, I got you.
There you go. Pajama bottoms from the bottom down. It's kind of like the new mullet. Party from the waist. I mean, business from the waist up, party from the waist down, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Full disclosure, I totally have like, I've been living in my leggings, but I have really cute leggings on. And there's no reason, just because we're kind of more casual, that we still can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time. It's more about, you know, like what your brand is and being mindful of some rules around that too.
Let's dive into that in a little bit, because I think that's a great thing that people need to realize as they're building their brand, kind of identifying maybe those staples or those key things. And I know you're passionate of, or a fan of, you. I've always seen you wearing a red or a fuchsia top or a blue top, because that's kind of falls into your brand and your color coordination with everything you're doing, right? So, you know, let's talk about that some, huh?
Definitely color is one thing that I always tell people to pay attention to. One is what you mentioned. You can have a certain color that tends to be you and your brand, but you also have to be mindful of how that reads in the camera and also with your skin tone. So you may love, say, black or beige, but that doesn't necessarily bode well, you know, on camera and in social media. You're not going to pop. Obviously, jewel tone colors, things with deeper hues, that's why I wear red and a lot, is that it goes along with my story, because anyone who knows my story, I talk about my red dress moment that changed my life, and this is how I teach. So that's part of my signature. But it also, I know red sells. And so besides having, you know, just kind of that brand part, it's also, there's a psychology around colors as well. And so that is really powerful when you're trying to get a message across. If you're doing a Facebook Live or even a story on Instagram, if you're wearing something that really pops, people are going to stop and watch you. Like, this is just like basic 101 stuff, you know. Same thing I tell people when they're on Bumble or Tinder: wear something red, because the guys are going to stop and look at you. So it's just like an easy hack to pay attention to. I would say another thing is obviously like what you're wearing, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to be dressy all the time if that's not your thing. Like, Scott, you do a great job with your brand and your clothing. You always have like something like a baseball hat on, or you have something that kind of speaks to like the webinar that you're given. And I noticed that like it matches the message that you're trying to convey. And
it also depends on how long I've had a haircut too, you know what
okay.
I mean?
Yeah, no, hats are great, especially for guys. You know, I just think switching out hats can be just a nice signature piece that just is you, you know. And then also kind of being mindful where you are in your environment that goes with the clothes too. So I always have this white background as kind of my signature thing. This is my setup, and people know, so they know, like, and trust this as part of my thing. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've seen Facebook Lives or people hopping on the video and they're not being mindful of what's behind them. And there's no excuse now, because if you have an updated version of Zoom, you can, like what you're doing right now, you can put any kind of background on you want, even if you don't have something great behind you. people will be distracted what's behind you and then not really pay attention to you and what you're saying. So if you want to make your message pop and really stand out and connect with your audience, do something pretty neutral in the background, or something that's at least nice and that's fitted to who you are. It could be an office. I see that a lot. And as long as it's tidy and nice, that's great. But, I always say just get rid of anything that can be a distraction for your audience. So that's another important piece.
Yeah, the cat in the back that's licking himself, or the dog that's doing something funky. Or I had an interview for one of my podcasts one time, and she had her sex couch behind her.
Oh
And
my
it
God, but
wasn't.
was she selling sex? Like, was that her
No,
brand?
she wasn't. No, she was a real estate
Oh,
investor. And I missed it.
I lost you. Oh, there. Where are you? Okay.
Yeah. It was just fun. It's like I had to ask her, "Is that a sex couch in the back?" And she's like, "How did you know?" I was like, I'm not just. It just didn't look normal, and the curves. Come on now. And
Oh
she was
my
like, "Oh my
gosh.
God, yeah, I had to put the swing away." It's like, "Oh gosh," you sound like TMI or
Yeah.
anything like that. But that's the thing. Stuff will distract you. So yeah, we try to always have a neutral background or our logo or something that
It's
looks.
good. It's good. Well, the other thing I'll say about first impression, so we're talking a lot about what people are wearing and the visual aspect. The other thing that goes into a first impression, and this isn't something I'm making up, this is actually research. I mean, people in the brain, what happens in a first impression, which by the way is only 7 seconds now. How crazy is that? Like it used to be 30 seconds, I think, a couple of years ago. I blame Bumble and Tinder on it. But besides that, just we're fast. We're fast in the way that, and so people won't even watch your Facebook Live if your presentation doesn't look appealing. It's a subconscious thing. So the other part that goes into the first impression in the brain is your body language and your attitude. So that's another thing to be mindful of. I know I had to get used to looking in the little circle that's above. Like right now I'm looking in a circle and it looks like I'm looking all at you. But if you don't know that and you're not paying attention to that and you're looking over here and you're not connecting with the audience, or you're looking down at the screen, it's odd from the viewer standpoint. So eye contact's really important. And also your attitude, your tonality, the way you talk to the audience, these all make an impact in your social media videos. It's huge. And your pictures as well.
Yeah, you definitely got to take some time to craft it. And I think the big thing too is you got to smile. You got to kind of
smile.
Smiling is so huge. And a lot of people are like, and let's face it, Facebook or YouTube, if you don't put a thumbnail, they never pick the best looking thumbnail for you. As I say, they always like to select stroke face. You know what I mean?
Oh,
where you've got
I always look like I'm sneezing somehow. I don't know why they do. I smile all the time, but yet they capture that, I know that's true. But at least if you wear something nice, they'll overlook the weird face, So again, that can be like a compensation for that. But no, it's true. The smile is really huge. I mean, what is written on your face is so important, both on camera and off. And I think people sometimes forget that when they're on the camera, to smile and be engaging and be warm and bubbly and friendly. And that also, to me, speaks to the authenticity and connecting with your audience. It's being a real person. A real person doesn't talk like this and monotone and be really all proper and that kind of thing. That doesn't even sell anymore. And it can be odd, quite frankly, when you're watching it. So the more you can get more personal and be real, the better you will connect with the audience for sure.
That's the truth. Be yourself, but connect. I think a lot of people worry about the image versus actually the connection, and realize that, hey, we are all going through things and we're not going to be perfect right out the box. I think that really kind of eliminates a lot of people from taking action in marketing. It's like, oh, I got to be, everything's got to be perfect. My hair's got to be done, my makeup, I got to have my eyes in or whatever. I'm like, well, wait a second. Yes, you want to be a nice looking package, but you also, hey, just share what you got coming, rock and rolling, right? Let it flow a little bit.
Totally. It's all about balance. I mean, life is like that, right? I mean, you can't just focus on the image without having the personality and the warmth and the connection. And so it's somewhere in between. You still have to be professional, but you also have to allow yourself to be human. And again, because of the environment that we're in right now, I've just seen more authenticity and vulnerability happening with everybody, and it's a way of joining with each other. I mean, even the fact that we're talking about this on your summit, it's just, it's a joined experience. And so, using that to really say, hey, I'm with you, rather than I know best. That never works when you have more of that attitude, and that's conveyed through your body language, your messaging, and even how you present.
Now, one of the things I know that you've been mentioning a little bit is you've got some people that have been virtually dating
Oh, yes.
a little bit here. Let's talk about some of those surprises, some of the things that maybe like, whoa, that was kind of interesting. I didn't expect to see that, or kind of what people are experiencing. I mean, I think sometimes we all get a little zoomed out,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For
But where are you
sure.
kind of seeing some of this virtual dating aspect of things?
I just did an article on this, actually, because, I think, again, the way that we're communicating and dating and even just meeting people is changing. And I predict, actually, that even when we're through this, that there's going to be residual effect, and things that we're doing now hopefully will carry over, and in a good way. And so it's almost going back to basics. And you would think, oh gosh, in the virtual world, how is that true? Well, I think courtship is starting to resurface again. In the dating world, people were just numbing out, swiping right and left, and not really courting one another, really giving it a chance to getting to know people. We're in this phase of slowing down. And so this kind of slow phased approach to love and dating and connecting has been amazing. And what I'm seeing, the benefit from that, is that people are now able to build an emotional connection through Zoom dates, through phone calls. Oh my God, yeah. People are actually using that old-fashioned phone thing that people got away from. That's what I'm saying, back to basics. No, wait, no joke. I was working with a woman, and she's teetering on being a millennial, right? A little bit older. And she's like, you want me to talk on the phone? She's like, I honestly don't even know what that is. She's like, that's weird. And I was like, well, what's weird about it? She's like, well, I just never did it. Like, I rely on seeing people and their faces. But that was actually a deeper rooted issue. As a therapist, we kind of dug a little, and that actually had to do with her insecurities, that she didn't think other people would actually like her. And so she relied on the faces to make sure that people were liking her. If she just heard it, it wasn't the case. So really, really interesting. So I think it's an opportunity to hone in on skills that maybe you didn't have before this whole thing happened, and slow down and really work on that. So I'm having people learn how to date with emotional connection without relying on the physical. That's not a bad thing. What if, knowing that you have to earn somebody in order to really see them in person? Not a bad thing. Who is worthy? How can we connect here? And I just think that, it's been really interesting for a lot of people. And off the top of my head, I have 5 people who started out in virtual relationships who are now full blown boyfriend, girlfriend. And they all have told me independently, Kim, this is one of the best relationships I've ever had. This is such a different way of getting to know someone. So it's been really powerful. And I've been teaching people just a progression of things. And you talked about getting zoomed out. This is real. I mean, there's psychological impact too with not having touch and seeing people 3D. This 2D thing is odd for even the brain. So it's about, again, giving yourself breaks. And even with business meetings and social media, I will say the same thing goes. If you have a bunch of Zoom meetings lined up and then you do a Facebook Live, you're just not going to be as effective. Your brain's on overload, sensory overload, So definitely move the body, do self-care. That's huge. Do a variety of things. Scott, you're so good at that. Just coming up with creative ways and different things, like how you wanted me to do that speed dating event, which I still should probably do. But I don't know, that's going to be a big thing. And yeah, so just a combination of things I think is really healthy right now.
Well, I think when people can take the time to slow it down, they build deeper connections, true point with what you say with your clients are going through. It's the same thing in business. It's the same thing. I say, hey, it's okay to slow down. Oh, no. Hey, sign up for my thing. Give me your credit card immediately. Let's get married. No. Let's date a little bit. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, or I may not be the ideal thing, but taking the time to understand it. Anytime you build on that emotional and understanding and get to know your clients a bit more than just being a Facebook icon or a thumbnail, it adds a lot more, because then it builds deeper roots and I want to say deeper again, but a richer communication, richer connection is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
I've been
and with
Zooming
that,
for 12 hours. So
yeah, no, I'm like, you're
right.
you're so good. I can't even believe you're talking coherently. No, because this is exactly what we're talking about, right? You have not had a break. I think actually the core of what we're talking about, both with business, marketing, and even my clients, is trust.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't build that trust where people know, like, and trust you, then it's going to be a harder sell. And it's going to feel really icky as the marketer, because you're not doing something that's congruent with maybe you. Like, maybe you're just saying a bunch of words and you're not really connecting. It's same thing with people who are swiping and not really connecting. It's the same dynamic. It's so funny because sometimes people will hire me for dating and then it leaks into their business life. Sometimes people hire me for business and it leaks into their love life. And to me, it's all the same. The skills that show up in one area of your life leaks into others. And it's really using this time to get a handle on this so that when we are done, you'll be even better than before.
I love that. That's so truthful. Now, one of the things that you've talked about here, and then also kind of is shaking it up. You mentioned ladies wearing red, and guys will notice that. Let's, on the guy's side, should be a blue shirt, should be something that pops, that kind of gets the attention to begin with, and then make sure that there's something substantial underneath that?
Yeah, actually, the same rule applies. I mean, any color that anybody wears is always good because it's going to be an attention grabber. But then the rules go back to, like, is it your like a signature color? Is it something that you always talk about? Where is it colors on your website? Does everything kind of go together with your brand? And also what looks good on your skin tone. And that's really important. I will say in general, blues tend to be a really nice color for men. I feel like that's a safe color that looks good on most skin tones. So whether it's light blue, like what you're wearing, or a navy or dark blue, I think that just depends on your skin tone as well. But what's interesting about blue is that it connotates authority. And so even if you're a woman wearing blue, that is more of a serious color. It's also a calming color. So again, think about what you're trying to convey to your audience and messaging, and that will help, also just with the psychology of color.
Now, are there any colors or colored in brands that you just dislike? Because I've seen some of your before and after photos.
Yeah.
And I always I think some of the before photos of your clients, I'm like, that color of brown needs to kind of get out of there. Would you agree? Brown's not the most...
Brown's probably not. I mean, look, there's some earth tones that look beautiful on some people. And I will say, if you have darker skin tone,
right,
I'm so jealous of you because you can wear pretty much anything. It's not fair. But like, if you're light, like Scott and I are light, like we have to wear more pigment to have that contrast on our skin. Because if you wear things like brown or like beige, like a soft yellow, pastels, it's going to just wash us out and will even look sometimes sickly. There's actual colors that might make you look even more sickly, like put yellow in your skin or green in your skin, and you don't want to do that.
No, you don't want to look like you've got a kidney failure.
Yeah, no, not at all. So
right.
yeah, all of those things matter. So yes, in the end of the day, image matters, authenticity matters, vulnerability matters, and with that, you will build trust with your audience and a community.
I wish everybody would think more about that. They have to date their audience. They date their clients in a professional manner to deepen those relationships versus the whole, let's just slick right, the whole, what, I don't know. I haven't had a date in quite a few years, which I'm very happy. Steph, it keeps me out of trouble with that for the most part, but There are some what's another obviously there's some big no-nos to do with social media. We know the sending the unsolicited, hey, are you single kind of texts or messages, or
Right.
anatomy photos obviously is the big no-no for out there for you. But what's another thing besides that it kind of drives you bonkers you see people screwing up on?
In dating or in social media?
Either way, what's just a pet peeve that you got? You're just like, oh.
I think it's the lines. It's the line, and people often will ask me, Kim, what are some good lines that I can say to people, and that could be social media and doing Facebook Lives as well, to be honest. Like, what, I want to just, get away from the canned responses and everything. I'm like, but the fact that you're asking me for a line is a canned response, So what I like to do is really teach people like how to pay attention to the person. And this could be your audience as well. Like, how well do you know your audience? Like, do you know their pain points? Have you lived it? Have you breathed it? And what are some things that you can relate to? And that's the other thing. Like, don't be scared to share stuff about yourself rather than coming up with a line or something you've seen before that works. If that's not you or your audience, it's not going to work. So like whether it's someone's profile, taking a look at a profile and seeing like, oh gosh, this is interesting. What can I do to comment on that to engage in some sort of conversation that I can relate to? It's the same thing with social media.
I love it. I love it. What's the best way for people to connect with you, to follow up with you, see if they need some help with the branding or need some help with online makeover for their business, their live streams, or just their dating life? What's the best way to reach out?
Well, the best thing is to go to my website is kimmyseltzer.com, Kimmy Seltzer.com. And actually, I just rebranded all my handles to all be Kimmy Seltzer. So it's super easy to remember on social media. So excited. And then, of course, my podcast is Charisma Quotient.
Exactly. I noticed you rechanged it because I was like, I can't tag her. It's not pulling up. I was like, I got to go find her. I know I'm connected with her.
Sorry. I just changed it. Yeah.
That's good. But that's the beautiful thing. It's uniform, makes it simple for everybody.
Exactly.
And gets up there. But yeah, guys and gals, take her up on the opportunity. She does some great stuff online, whether or in person. She is also will travel out to you if we're getting beyond this pandemic aspect of things. Coming out and you do some great mingles and kind of like hand holding people get back out in the dating pool for the most part. You get some great stories that you shared on our podcast and I've heard on yours as well too. So Kimmy,
thanks, Scott. Thanks for doing this and all you do and just helping people. I mean, you're just such a giver and so generous with the wealth of information and just you building a community. Honestly, like that's what your superpower is. Like you are so good at that. And I think because of that, people trust you.
I hope they do. It's pretty easy when I bring 24 of my good friends on for a day. So if it was all strangers I didn't know, I would probably be a little brain dead. But when having you and then our next guest in here and Russ and everybody else here, yeah, exactly. It makes for an easy day.
Yeah, and I'll say that if anyone is interested in a free style guide, I'm happy to give that to your audience as well. I can give you the link to that. And that's whether you're in business or single. It's just basically a way of measuring yourself to see what body type you are if you're a woman. And then it's a man's fashion manifesto for a man.
Oh, yeah. You want to share the link with that before you share that with everybody?
I will. You know what? I don't have it up, but can I
put it in the chat row? Yeah, put it in the Facebook live stream when you get off there, or and send me a message for it too.
Okay.
All right, Kimmy. Okay. Good to see you. Be safe.
You too.